Hey there, young man.
Hey.
What do you think you're doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know what this is.
Well, lucky for you, you're looking at an aquaponics system.
What's that? What is it? Well, it comes from two words having to do with aquaculture and hydroponics. Like hydroponics, it uses a tank that's full of nutrients to circulate water with this nutrients in it through a system of grow containers that hold plants which are bathed in the nutrient solution. But unlike traditional hydroponics, it uses a fish tank where the fish waste fuels the system. It produces ammonia, and that ammonia is converted into nitrites and nitrates, which then feed the plants and allows the plants to develop to maturity and be harvested using a system that doesn't use any soil at all and uses just the liquid waste produced by fish.
Well said, Paul. Let's look at a diagram for those of us who can't quite visualize it. As you can see in the bottom of our diagram, we have some fish swimming around here, making some nutrient-rich nitrogen solution. This gets then transferred to our plants up top, which they filter out and use as resources and nutrients for growing. And then the clean water is then sent back to the fish, which they love to frolic and swim about in.
But how do you make it? The largest system, when it was originally built in my basement, the plans were drawn up to use completely recycled materials. So using food-grade IBC totes, which are those big plastic square bins that are used for transporting liquid food products and oils and stuff like that. Using those, using 55-gallon drums, and then hoses and like fountain pumps, stuff that you could easily find anywhere in any country, so that it could be reproducible throughout the world and in different third world developing countries. The system was stabilized and was running very well in the basement, so we decided that it would be moved to Messiah College. That system was then altered by the addition of a GrowTech gutter system, which is there's a large it's a large area that's covered with these small, they look like rain gutters, and the plants are planted on top of them, and then the water just circulates through the gutters. So that's the system that's currently in the greenhouse, still using the IBC totes. This is grand, but why not just use soil? When you walk into the greenhouse, everything in there is grown in dirt and soil, except for our aquaponic gardening, except for the basil that we've been growing in there, the cilantro, we grew some lettuce, some tomatoes. In my system at home, we had just some avocado plants, some mango trees. Most famous at Messiah College is the 2 pineapples that originally started this whole aquaponic adventure. So you can grow pretty much anything in them as long as the plant can tolerate the region. Also, we're growing all of this biomass of basil and lettuce and everything on a cement slab.
So, what are some of the advantages of aquaponics systems, you may ask? Good question. For one, conserves water through the constant reuse and recycling of water. It uses organic fertilization of plants with natural fish emulsion. It eliminates solid waste disposal from intensive aquaculture. It reduces the need for cropland to produce crops. It also reduces the environmental footprint of crop production. It reduces the pathogens that often plague aquaculture production systems. And it reduces erosion caused by plowing the soil too much.
But with aquaponics, you don't just get the plants, but you also get the fish. The system that we have is capable of holding 150 adult tilapia, and that's only in a small 4x4x4 fish tank. Tilapia can be cultivated in very dense populations, so you can offer not only plants but also fish. There's a lot of polyculture that goes on as well with aquaponics, where people have built quail and chicken cages over aquaponic systems because the tilapia can survive off of a diet of avian feces, so that the chickens can actually live right over the tilapia, and all of their waste falls in the tilapia tank, feeds the tilapia, which feeds the plants. And so there's a lot more that you can do with aquaponics than you can do with hydroponics.
So what cons are there to this? Well, there's the initial cost, which can be kind of pricey, buying all those tanks and plumbing and pumps and such. There's also the infinite complexity of building it yourself. You could get pretty confused. Furthermore, aquaponics takes a lot of energy, So you have to constantly run your pump. Finally, though, there's a problem of single points of failure.
So what do I do with all this growing potential?
There's a lot of countries that, due to bad irrigation techniques or erosion and other such things like that, the soil is pretty much useless for actual horticulture and for true geoculture gardening. But with aquaponics, you can erect a system on top of that, on top of the soil. You can also build them in very confined areas by just building vertical systems, and it's very modular. So it can be used to grow things in the worst conditions in the areas that could never see true geoponics, which is cultivation of plants in dirt. So there's one hydroponic system that I had the opportunity to look at when I was in Honduras, and it was a beautiful state-of-the-art greenhouse hooked up for hydroponics, and it ran for a short time until they had to try and figure out a way to get more nutrients and afford more nutrients down there. And so the system's actually been shut down and it's just overgrown because they weren't able to get those solutions down there. When a simple solution of aquaponics would be they have a fish pond right next to it, and all you have to do is stick a pump in the fish pond and circulate that water through, and you would be able to put that system back online. So it's a lot easier. You can use the fish that are in the area. You don't need to try and transport in certain fish or certain nutrients. So it's very modular, and that's one thing that makes aquaponics very adapted for third world countries and for developing countries.
Now I see the practical application of aquaponics to help alleviate the world's hunger while also learning about this quite interesting system. Can't wait to go grow some pineapple.